Good day, here are today's top stories from the Pna Headlines. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has reaffirmed the Philippines' foreign policy of maintaining peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region while protecting its sovereignty and territory. He said the country is forging partnerships with like-minded countries as they look beyond matters of defense and security. More on this from Marita Mawahe.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. reaffirmed the Philippines' stance to uphold peace and cooperation with like-minded nations that uphold international law. In his speech during a foreign policy forum hosted by the Observer Research Foundation at the Lila Palace in New Delhi on Wednesday, Marcos said the Philippines upholds peace as a policy pursued through diplomacy, cooperation, and firm defense of sovereignty. He also said the country is focusing on improving defense ties alongside economic and strategic cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. He highlighted the need for cooperation among like-minded countries to gain collective resilience and face matters beyond defense and security, such as economic recovery, climate change, and geostrategic ambiguity.
Our diplomatic initiatives must buttress the current structures of global governance. These structures must withstand geopolitical shocks, remaining credible as providers of global goods and meaningful venues for nations to find common ground. At the regional level, this means continued centrality of ASEAN in the regional architecture and active engagement by all stakeholders, including India, and in ASEAN-led mechanisms.
The president made this remark as the Philippines continues to confront increasing Chinese incursions into its exclusive economic zone in the West Philippine Sea. He declared that not all claims in the South China Sea are legitimate and equal, and warned the international community against misinformation and unilateral actions disguised as geopolitics. Marcos urged democracies to unite in protecting the global commons and upholding laws, adding that they must not invest in rivalry, but rather in stability. He also called for meaningful reforms in the United Nations and its Security Council to prevent undue influence and work towards inclusivity, equity, and justice. He reiterated this pledge to strengthen maritime defense and alliances with countries supporting a rules-based order such as India.
The complex issue of competing claims in the South China Sea has for years been unfortunately and simplistically reduced to the South China Sea disputes, as if claims were all equal. They are not. The assertions of littoral states have to pass the test of conformity with international law, particularly the UNCLOS and definitive binding interpretations such as the 2016 arbitral award. Such misinformation or inaccurate narratives distract us from calling out illegal and unlawful actions for what they are: violations of international law.
In a separate interview, Marcos said the Philippines is acquiring more BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles from India as part of the armed forces of the Philippines' ongoing modernization. He praised India's fast-growing defense industry, noting that upgrading equipment alongside joint training and maritime cooperation is essential to achieving technical interoperability with India and other defense partners. The Philippines received its first batch of BrahMos missiles from India in April 2024. For the Pna Headlines, I am Marita Mawahe.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. hailed the continued improvements in the domestic production of rice, which will soon enable the government to reduce subsidies for the Benteng Bigas Meron Na program. In the BBM podcast aired on Wednesday, the president said the government has now reached a point where the subsidy for the affordable rice program is sustainable. He credited agricultural reforms rolled out over the past 3 years, including reducing farming input costs, increasing equipment distribution, and cracking down on smuggling and hoarding. Marcos said that as local production improves further, the subsidies for the flagship program will decrease, but its reach will broaden and benefit more Filipinos. The BBM Na program sells rice at 20 pesos per kilogram to the poor and vulnerable sectors. The administration has repeatedly vowed to reduce poverty in part by boosting food security and easing rice prices. In other news, the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, and the Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, are finalizing the updated flood control master plans for the Pasig, Marikina, and Cagayan River basins. DPWH Senior Undersecretary Emil Sadain and JICA Senior Representative Takanori Morishima led the presentation and discussion of the draft reports at the Bayleaf Hotel in Manila on August 5. The reports involved holistic approaches to support water resources management, improve interagency coordination, and enhance the overall risk and reduction efforts in Luzon. Sadain cited the urgency of completing the master plans following President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive to expand infrastructure capacity to address climate change threats such as flooding. He noted the devastating impact of past typhoons such as Ondoy in 2009, Super Typhoon Lawin in 2016, Ulysses in 2020, and Karina in 2024, which had severely affected vulnerable areas and displaced families in Metro Manila, Cagayan Valley, and other parts of the country. He said the DPWH is working with a JICA study team to fast-track the completion of the pre-feasibility study of each river basin. Once finalized, the updated plans will be submitted to the Department of Economy, Planning and Development for review and approval. Pre-feasibility studies for the plans are expected to begin in early 2026. The Philippine Postal Corporation, or PHLPost, has released special joint commemorative stamps to mark the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the Philippines and India. In a news release, Postmaster General Maximo Santamaria III said the issuance of the stamp serves as a tribute to the strong bilateral relationship. Santamaria added that the stamps are a testament to both countries' commitment to foster mutual understanding, cultural exchange, and meaningful cooperation. The stamps were officially unveiled by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the President's 5-day state visit to India from August 4 to 8. The commemorative stamp features a logo incorporating elements from both national flags and highlighting the national flower of both countries, the sampaguita and the lotus. Formal diplomatic relations between Philippines and India were established in the year 1949 with a Treaty of Friendship signed in 1952. Meanwhile, the PHLPost also issued a special commemorative stamp honoring His Holiness Pope Leo XIV following his historic election as the 268th Supreme Pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church. In a press release, the agency said the stamp pays tribute to Pope Leo XIV's spiritual leadership and advocacy for compassion, inclusivity, and global unity. The stamp design shows a portrait of Pope Leo XIV alongside symbolic imagery associated with his papacy. A total of 20,000 copies of the stamps have been printed, priced at 17 pesos each, with a matching first-day cover available for collectors. PHLPost encouraged the public to acquire the commemorative issue, which is both a collector's item and a tribute to the new pontiff's enduring bond with the Philippines. In our business news, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. expressed confidence in the financial health of the Social Security System, or SSS, saying the agency can implement pension hike without raising member contributions. In his latest podcast, President Marcos Jr. said the growing number of Filipino workers will balance any short-term effect on the SSS fund.
Well, that's fine because the SSS is growing anyway.
our population is growing, our working population is growing. So yun ang bawi dun. It will continue to grow.
The SSS recently announced an increase in its monthly pension benefits for qualified members without raising contribution rates. The adjustment is anticipated to have minimal effects on the fund's lifespan. President Marcos also minimized concerns about long-term sustainability, stating that the SSS fund is expanding at a pace that could soon rival or even surpass Government Service Insurance System or GSIS.
In fact, in our estimation, SSS, in terms of its fund, is growing at such a rate that it will be bigger than GSIS soon.
On the other hand, aircraft maintenance, repair, and overhaul provider SIA Engineering Philippines Corporation or SIAEP will start operating at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA in September this year. SIAEP is a subsidiary of SIA Engineering Company Limited, which is majority owned by the Singapore Airlines Group. New NAIA Infra Corporation or NNIC said the local subsidiary has a facility in Clark and its expansion at NAIA shows confidence in the airport's potential to become a stronger hub for aviation services. The presence of SIAEP at the country's main gateway will help provide faster aircraft turnaround and improve technical support, benefiting both airlines and passengers. NNIC sees it to benefit not only local carriers but also the broader aviation industry as it opens more opportunities for skills development, knowledge transfer, and jobs in aircraft maintenance. And those are the latest and the biggest stories from the PNA headlines. For more news updates, visit our website pna.gov.ph or our Facebook and X account, Philippine News Agency. You may also watch the PNA headlines through the Philippine News Agency's YouTube account and via the News and Information Bureau website under PNA News. I am William Theo. This is the PNA headlines, bringing you stories that unite the nation.